Hello, and today I'm going to talk about tile grid maps in Excel. I first came across tile grid maps many years ago in R, and it's been implemented in many ways, not just in squares, but also in hexagons and triangles and other shapes. But in Excel, of course, we do it in squares, and we do it in the datasheet itself. I saw it first on PolicyViz.com and how to implement it. And I got, the example here. This is a two-color one, and how one will do the formatting, and it involves two pieces. Here's the actual blog post with explanation of how to do it. I will provide this in the video description. I downloaded this and then I started adapting it for my own use. He then links, so this is Jonathan Schwabish, who is behind PolicyViz.com. Then he linked, this is the old version because this was in 2016, Guide to Advanced Data Visualization in Excel 2010. But then he has a shop. There's a more recent one that uses the current data visualization how shall we say, engine that exists. And it has the different graphs, and he's like overlaid grid lines, vertical line, block shading. I highly recommend this product. I've bought all of his stuff, his book. He actually has a book called Better Data Visualization. Now, not all of his examples are in Excel, but almost everything that he has in the book can be done in Excel. He has a lot of great practical advice. So I am plugging his stuff. It's great work. I've found his advice to be very helpful for me in the work I do, in the job I actually get paid for, but also the blogging I do. I am not getting a cut for any of this. I'm not using any of my Amazon special links or anything. I'm just doing bare links to his sites, and you can buy it directly from him. So there we go. But now I'm going to jump into my version of the graphs, because once I got it from him, I adapted it for what I want to do. In the colors I like to use, and the color scales I like to use, and it's more than two colors. So I'm assuming you're a reader of my blog, which is how you have come to this video, and if you're not, please come over to my blog. I will again drop a link in the video description, but it's marypatcampbell.substack.com. And this is from my Mortality with Meep series. And you'll see I use a lot of these tile grid maps because I want to see if there is a geographical pattern to certain causes of death or just mortality patterns in general. A lot of people have been asking me, do certain states have higher COVID mortality or just higher mortality patterns during the pandemic, whether it's from COVID or all causes of death? In this particular post, I am looking at alcohol-related causes of death. And you can see there is a pattern, and it lines up New Mexico to Montana. Now, of course, with tile grid maps, it doesn't, exactly match up with the real geography, but that's part of the beauty and, the drawbacks of tile grid maps. It's a simplification of the geographical relationships between the states. We're taking away all of the size relationships. So Montana is shown as the same size as Rhode Island here. Okay, so, that doesn't quite work. And things don't really the boundaries don't quite work quite right. It's approximate. In any case, you'll see I have 5 colors here. These colors aren't quite mapping the way I wanted to and the way this was encoded in the PNG, but, there's always issues with images. We'll see that it looks different in the spreadsheet. So I'm going to come down here at the bottom of any of my data-driven pages. I usually try to embed the spreadsheet. So if I go down to the bottom, you'll see there's methodology, There's the spreadsheet. You can download it. So I've downloaded that spreadsheet that was on the bottom of the page. I renamed it, it gives it a weird name when you download it. So I gave it the regular name it should have. And I picked one of the many tabs that has the tile grid map on it. So here we go. This is the age-adjusted death rate for alcohol-related causes. And then we've got these 5 colors. There's nothing here. It's just, I put a fill in. But something's going on in these squares where I have the colors, but you'll see it's equal to things in this column over here, column W, and this is where all the different rates are. I'm doing an X lookup over here where I'm, looking up in the age-adjusted rates, one of the data tabs, and let's not worry about it. In all of these, I have it set up so that it's going to look up the values and it's going to equal to this, but I'm seeing the state abbreviation for each of these squares, and then it has a color that's related to these numbers. And then I have these labels, and you'll see there are these text functions. So what's going on? There's 2 parts to making the tile grid map work. And I keep using, it's basically a template. All of my tile grid map sheets look exactly like this because there is really no good reason. The states don't change. They always have the same, the same abbreviations. And I'm usually using some kind of monocolor scale. Okay. Now I might change which colors I want or which color palette I'm using. Here, and it's going to depend on which theme I'm using. So I'm using Cassette. I might want to use Durin. I have it set up so it will, here's using Greek. Hokusai 3. I don't like that one. Angre. Oh, I like Angre. That one's kind of nice. Isfahan. That's okay. Lakota. Lakota's okay. Morgenstern. You can get some purples. Pilmont. Kind of washed out. And Veronese. I don't have the SOA, the Society of Actuaries one in here. But I'll put it back to Cassette. It's fine. So how did I set this up? And, some of this is Jon Schwabish set it up. And I have it set up to take numerical, not categorical data. I can do it so that it takes categorical data. But because of the kinds of things I do, it's always set up, and I have Washington, D.C. In some of these, I have it so it will take New York City. I've done some of these for COVID. And I'm going to show you part of this. Part of this is how does it show the state abbreviation. So let me go into, I right-clicked on the Alaska one, and I'm going to click Format Cells. And what you get, it's under Custom, and you'll see all of these custom things that have the state names and some of them. So this is Alaska. I have a \A and then K. It kind of depends, it does depend on what letters, because some of these letters can get interpreted as code essentially, and you have to put a \, to mean, yes, I really mean the capital letter A, as opposed to interpreting it as some piece of code. So for example, if I go up here where you see HMMSS, that's hours, minutes, and seconds. There's ones where, D, Y, and M can be interpreted as year, day, and month. AM and PM are, what it is. It's for time. So when I have A, because it can be interpreted for AM and PM, I have to put a \. Because K isn't interpreted for any of those kinds of codes, I don't have to put a \. I do want to show this VT. What's this colon doing here? Well, actually, for every single one of these, and actually I just changed Alaska to Vermont. I don't want to do that. So Alaska is Alaska. Every single one of these states, I really should have a semicolon, and it twice. Most of the things I'm doing do not allow for negative numbers. So this is death rates. Death rates are always positive. We do not have zombies. We do not have people coming back from the dead. Okay, so these are always positive numbers, or, non-negative. I mean, I guess you could have a 0 rate depending on the cause of death. Maybe nobody died by that cause that year. However, for some of these, like percentage change, for some of these causes of death, you could have a negative percentage change. And I don't want to have a little negative sign showing up in front of the symbol for the state. So the way I do that is if I do a semicolon and and that's what happened with Vermont. And I think it might have been drug overdoses. It may have been suicides or something like that. One of the earlier causes of death spreadsheets I had done, I had gotten a negative cause of death in there, and I needed to make sure that I didn't get a little negative sign. And that's why some of these states, especially when you come down here, Wyoming, North Dakota, Nebraska, Delaware, and all of that, I had to put semicolons and, replace those. So that's where those come from. So every single one of these squares for each of these states had to be set up so that instead of the number, W26 and all of that, it shows this string, okay? So then what does this equals W26? Where do these numbers come in? That's where, and I'll go back to the age adjusted, that's where the conditional formatting comes in. Okay, so I'm going to go to the home, and you see conditional formatting. To find what conditional formatting is on the page, I go to the home ribbon. I'm going to go down to manage rules. Okay, and it's going to show me all the rules that are applying to the cell I'm in. So that's for current selection, though I can see all of the rules for this worksheet or any of the other worksheets. But let's just look for current selection. It looks at the current cell value, and it has those 5 colors. If it's blank, I want to make sure there's, nothing there. But if the cell value is above that highest value, I want that darkest thing with white text. And so you can see I have it set up for each of these. I can edit this rule, and when I did the formatting, I made sure, okay, so I did it on the fill, and I made sure it was one of the colorways. So you see it's based on one of the colorways on one of these columns. So it's based on a colorway of the theme. So if I change the theme, the colors will automatically update properly along one single mono color. And I wanted it to be under one column because these automatically update so that there would be no, problem with this, though. So let me change it to one of those where I'm going to close this sucker up. Let's change it to one of the other colorways where it looked kind of funky, like, say, Greek. Yeah, that looks kind of funky. So let's see how this one worked. Let's do the go to home and see how that looks under the manage rules. Okay, so these two are like very close together. What happened here? Format, and is something going on here? Like, I'm not seeing where it got sampled from. So something seems to be wrong with how this, this got set up. Like, I don't see where these got sampled from in this palette. So sometimes it's not behaving the way I want it to. It doesn't always cooperate, so here's Hokusai. So this seems to be like under a single colorway, and I tried to set it up so that I could just change the theme, and it kind of works. But the problem is, you see these two darkest. I want to have some kind of separation between those two. I want you to be able to tell those two apart. I can tell that in Lakota. Let's see, Angre. Yeah, that's not really working. And that works. That kind of works. Let me just go back to this one. I can still eyeball this one. So that's part of it, but also if you go back into this conditional formatting, manage rules, and it's not on a set. Let me just look in this worksheet. What's in this worksheet? It looks at Z8, Z7, and Z8, Z6, so stuff in the Z's. So let's go over to Z's, and here it is. Here are the numbers. I can change what the breakpoints are. And you'll notice there's a formula up here. I have it set in 2020 crude rate tile, so that's this one. I like using the same breakpoints in the crude rate, the age-adjusted rate, and then 2019 and 2020. So I changed the numbers here, and then they changed for 4 different maps.